And now joining us is Father John Phalen, and he is here on a very great day, the Feast of the Visitation of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which is perfectly suited to the mission of Holy Cross Family Ministries. Thanks so much for being with us, Father, again.
Great to be with you again, Jay and Kevin.
You know, when we have you back more than once, that means you're a special guest.
Well, thanks very much.
So, and Kevin, of course, you know. I'm holding a picture here. I have to ask you about this before we, well, I guess we are beginning. It's with
Pope Emeritus,
Pope Emeritus,
Benedict XVI.
Yes.
And
tell me about it.
In December, I'm presenting this book to him. It's a book of 80,000 names of people committed to pray the Rosary, some with their families and some on their own. It's from countries all around the world. As you know, we give out rosaries in our Rosaries for the World program to people all around the world, and it's our privilege to be able to do that. And we ask them if they'd like to make a commitment that will eventually get that commitment to the Pope. We've given a book like this to John Paul II and now to Benedict XVI, and we're working hard on a book for Pope Francis.
That's great.
Busy. Well, thanks for joining us once again, and tell us what has been going on at the Holy Cross Family Ministries, because you guys are always up to something.
We are, and this is a very special month for us. It's a month dedicated to Mary, the month of May. And so we began on the West Coast, and this is our presentation here. We had a rally, a Rosary Rally in a football stadium at Cantwell Sacred Heart School, and it's in the Montebello section of California, which is right, Los Angeles, right next to East Los Angeles. 2,500 young people showed up. We had people from 6th grade up to 12th grade, and we had some wonderful presenters. Jamie Linares gave her own personal testimony as to difficulties that presented themselves in her life, the separating of her parents, the death of her grandfather, and so forth. And she gave a testimony of how faith got stronger in the midst of all of that. And then we had a fellow by the name of Jose Melendrez, who's a rapper. And he rapped the Rosary with the cooperation of all these young people, and the place was wild with that. I had never rapped the Rosary before, but it was really interesting to see. And then we had Justin Fatica, and Justin Fatica is the founder of Hard as Nails Ministry. I don't know if you've ever had him on the show before. Did, yeah. But he's kind of a tough guy, kind of a mix between a biker and a Marine. And he talks about how important it is to have that love for Christ in your heart and love for Mary, who brings you closer to her son. He started by saying, okay, here, who wants to chest bump me? So a few volunteers went down and they did this chest bump thing, and then he started out about how totally committed he is, and how at one time in his life he was as far as you could get from the gospel. But he had a tremendous conversion experience. He was asking people, who has a relative who's in prison? Come on up here and get a hug from everybody. Who has a relative who's dying of cancer? Come up and get a hug from everybody. Who is getting up in the morning and feeling like they're carrying a heavy burden? And people got up and they responded. You know, they all got up and they were hugging each other, and people were in tears. And it was just a wonderful experience of God's love. And the keynote was really the Archbishop. Archbishop Gomez spoke about the importance of prayer and the importance of family prayer. So it wasn't the first time we've done a rally in Los Angeles. As you know, you covered the Rosary Bowl when we had it back in 2007. But it was wonderful to do it with the young people and kind of in their language, in their style, in a way that they could really respond to. So we were happy with that.
Yeah. And we were talking about the visitation today, and also the last month of May, the month of Mary. And maybe if you could talk about the Marian focus of Holy Cross Family Ministries and how important that is.
Well, of course, without Mary, we wouldn't be here at all. Mary did gave a special gift to Father Pat before he was ordained. When he was a seminarian, he was cured of tuberculosis through the Rosary, through the praying of the Rosary. And that meant everything to him. He lived his priesthood then in thanks to Mary for her intercession, and he said he would be Mary's donkey. He would just do the work of Mary in any way that it presented himself. And he was a very creative person. So he figured out doing these rallies which gathered hundreds of thousands of people, sometimes 1 million people in different countries around the world, encouraging people to pray the Rosary. He had 500,000 people at the Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. So it's really amazing, the biggest gathering of people ever in San Francisco. And so he went around the world doing that, and he also got into the media in Hollywood, as you know, founding Family Theater Productions, where we have Father Willie Raymond, whom you know, and Father David Guffey. Both of them are working hard on presentations. We'll be having a new movie come out called Carrying On, a carrying of the cross in a modern drama. That'll be coming out in August. So people should look forward to that to hear about it. Of course, the 13th of May is the Fatima Day, the day of the first apparition of Our Lady of Fatima, and so there's great dedication to Our Lady under that title. And now with the Feast of the Visitation, I think my interpretation of the visitation is to think of the ways in which we visit. We're having a visitation right now. You guys do visitations every day. And the visit is a time when, like Mary and Elizabeth, you're trying to be Christ for the other, and you're trying to discover the Christ in the other. So that's the way I look at it, and I think people, when they pray that mystery, could think about the visitations they've had in their life. If they've visited someone in the hospital or in prison, or someone came to visit them at a time when they were feeling low, and just their presence to them somehow spoke of Christ's love for them. And that's a way to kind of help us concentrate on the experiences of our own life while we're praying that particular decade of the Rosary.
How is it today, in today's world, after Father Peyton had really dedicated his life to the Rosary, but in today's world it's such a different place, to carry on his mission of bringing the Rosary to people? Is it a challenge?
It's a challenge because it's hard to get people to slow down, especially in the corridor between Boston and Washington, D.C., but actually anywhere in the country. And the promise is, if you stop long enough to pray the Rosary, even a decade of the Rosary, it'll lower your blood pressure. It'll help you to cope with all the other challenges that there are in the course of the day, and dedicate your day to the Lord, and ask Mary's intercession. Mary loves us as our mother, and so she's going to look out for us in the course of the day. It's great to start the day with a Rosary.
And we're running out of time here, but I know you have a pilgrimage coming up, and I want people to be able to get to more information about Family Cross Ministries as well. Maybe you could provide some information on that.
Right. That's going to happen in September from the 14th for about 10 days, and we'll be going to Northern Ireland and also to County Mayo, where Father Peyton is from, and to the shrine at Our Lady of Knock, and we'd like people to get in touch with us. Our number is 508-238-4095, and the website, if I can think of it, is familyrosary.org.
There you go.
Okay.
Well, thanks so much for being with us today, Father. One last question, though. Is Kevin one of the most famous people
He
who
is
ever came out of
getting to
Stone?
be one of the most famous graduates of Stonehill, and he's happy as I am that there's now been elected a new president of Stonehill, Father John Denning. I know he's going to do well. He's following a good act, but he can do it. Father Cregan did a wonderful job, too, during 13 years. So Father Denning has been vice president there for some time, and you'll be seeing him soon in your alumni gathering. So that's great. Stonehill's doing great things.
They are. It's a great place.
Mary's looking out for us.
And you are doing great work, too.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for the partnership with Catholic TV. We very much appreciate this.
We do, too. Yeah. We really appreciate the way in which we cover each other's things and help get the word out and get involved in the new evangelization.
That's what it's all about. Well.